This may be blasphemy, but I know the plans that God has for my life. Nothing. To be nothing, to have nothing, and to have no one. Now, this may be an exaggeration, but let's talk about it. The verse that gets tossed around a lot in Instagram bios or those TikTok videos is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, say the Lord, plans to give you hope and a future. Now, in the context of this is God talking to his people. They're under a lot of hardships and struggles, and he's promising them that he's going to bring them out of it. However, I think it still applies to our lives today. However, what do you do if that promise is not an earthly promise, but a heavenly one? What if in this life you are meant for nothing? And I mean that. You're meant to stay in your crappy little job. You're meant to never have that love that you've always dreamed about. If none of your prayers ever come true, is that still fulfilling the promise? And I think yes. As much as I don't like the idea of my life not exactly shaping up to what I've always wanted it to be, God has never promised us any kind of prosperity in this life. The only thing that God has really promised us in this life is that, one, he will always be with us. And that, two, when we die, we get to go to heaven and be with him forever. That's it. That is all we have been promised. And he is fulfilling that for us. He promises to always be with us, but in that promise, it means that he will be with us when we celebrate, when we triumph, and he will be with us when we mourn. But that does not mean that he is going to be with us, that his presence is suddenly going to take away all of the pain and the misery. That's not what that says. It just says that he will be with us, which is two separate things that I think a lot of people get confused about. Those promises don't promise a way out, they promise a way through. I think that there is a great joy to be had in that promise, but often with the practicalities of life, it's a little bit harder for us as humans to stomach. God is with you, but that does not negate the suffering. It's not going to ease the pain in a hungry stomach. It's not going to relieve the stress of financial burdens. It is not going to give comfort or that much comfort in an increasingly lonely world. So yes, anymore, when I think about what my future looks like, I don't see anything. I don't see a way for us to get out of the situation that we're in. I don't see a hope in a future beyond maybe continuing my career, maybe one day being able to afford a house, which is so financially off that even in a southern state, like it's just not like feasible for us at this point in time. Like I look ahead and I don't see anything. I don't see a future that has any meaning, that has any purpose. And that is what people really want. They want a life that has purpose. They don't just want to survive, they want to thrive. And I think in that is a lot of resentment and frustration. However, and I know that dissenters may say, oh, well, it's your fault, it's your lack of faith. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. Seek and you shall find. Ask and you shall be answered. That only applies if what you want is in line with God's plan. If your plan and God's plan are not aligned, then that is not going to happen. Then no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you believe, those things are not going to happen for you if it is not in God's plan. If the case was that we could believe anything and have anything happen, if you just believe, if that was genuinely the case, then there would be far more millionaires than there are people living below the poverty line. Just because you ask for something, it doesn't mean that thing's going to come true. Plain and simple. So what do? For me, I intend to live the way that I always have. I plan to worship the Lord and to thank him for all of the good things that have happened to me in my life, and to also thank him for all the things that I wanted but never got, and maybe want but will never receive, because there is still the hope. A part of that verse is the hope in the future. The future in this earthly life may mean absolutely nothing, but the hope is still there, and hope is a very powerful tool. And hope says that I can believe in his name, and that one day I will get to be with him in heaven. And I will have all peace, all understanding, which is something that we simply do not have and cannot attain here. The hope is that we can rest with him. I may not be destined for prosperity or love or anything that I've ever wanted, and may be destined for nothing more than a dull, dim future. But I still have hope.